King Mu of the Dschou extract. Chinese Folktale by Dr. R. Wilhelm, found in Book the Chinese Fairy Book. In the days of King Mu of the Dschou, a magician came out of the utmost west who could walk through water and fire and pass through metal and stone. He could make mountain and river change place, shift about cities and castles, rise into emptiness without falling, strike against solid matter without finding it an obstruction, and he knew 1,000 transformations in all their inexhaustible varieties. And he could not only change the shape of things, but he could change men's thoughts. The king honored him like a god and served him as he would serve a master. He resigned his own apartments that the magician might be lodged in them. He had beasts of sacrifice brought to offer him, and selected sweet singers to give him joy. But the rooms in the king's palace were too humble. The magician could not dwell in them, and the king's singer was not musical enough to be allowed to be near him. So King Mu had a new palace built for him. The work of bricklayers and carpenters, of painters and stainers left nothing to be desired. With regards to skill, the king's treasury was empty when the tower had reached its full height. It was 1,000 fathoms high and rose above the top of the mountain before the capital. Every month the most costly garments were bought him, and every morning the most delicate food. The magician allowed them to do so, and since he had no choice, made the best of it. Not long afterwards, the magician invited the king to go travel with him. The king grasped the magician's sleeve, and thus they flew up through the air to the middle of the sky. When they stopped, they found they had reached the palace of the magician. It was built of gold and silver and adorned with pearls and precious stones. It towered high over the clouds and rain, and none could say whereon it rested. To the eye it has the appearance of heaped up clouds. All that it offered the sense was different from the things of the world of men. It seemed to the king as though he were bodily present in the midst of the purple depths of the city, of the air, of the divine harmony of the spheres, where the great gods dwell. The king looked down, and his castles appeared to him like hills of the earth and a heap of straw. And there the king remained for some decades, and thought no more of his kingdom. Then the magician again invited the king to go traveling with him once more, and in the place to which they came there was to be seen neither sun nor moon above, nor rivers or sea below. The king's dazzled eyes could not see the radiant shape which showed themselves. His body was dissolving. No. The king's dull ears could not hear songs which played about them. It seemed as though his body was dissolving in confusion. His thoughts began to stray, and consciousness threatened to leave him. So he begged the magician to return. The magician put a spell upon him, and it seemed to the king as though he were falling into empty space. When he regained consciousness, he was sitting at the same place where he had been sitting when the magician had asked him to travel with him for the first time. The servants waiting on him were the same, and when he looked down, his goblet was not yet empty, and his food had not yet grown cold. The king asked what happened, and the servant answered, The king sat for a space in silence, whereupon the king was quite bereft of reason, and it was 3 months before he regained his right mind. Then he questioned the magician. The magician said, I was traveling with you in the spirit, O king. What need was there for the body to go along? And the place in which we stayed at the time was no less real than your own castle and your own gardens. But you are used only to permanent condition. Therefore, visions which dissolve so suddenly appear strange to you. The king was content with the explanation. He gave no further thought to business of the government, but resolved to travel afar. So he had 8 famous steeds harnessed and accompanied by a few faithful retainers, drove 8,000 miles away. Therefore, there he came to the country of the great hunters. The great hunters washed the king's feet in the milk of mares and cows. When the king and his followers had quenched their thirst, they drove on and camped for the night on the slope of Konglong Mountain, south of the Red River. Next day, they climbed to the peak of Konglong Mountain and gazed at the castle of the Lord of Yellow Earth. Then they traveled on to the Queen Mother of the West. Before they got there, they had to pass the Weak River. This is a river whose water will bear neither floats nor ships. All that attempt to float over it sinks into its depths. When the king reached the shore, fish and turtles, crabs and salamanders came swimming up and formed a bridge so that he could drive across with the wagon. It is said of the Queen Mother of the West that she goes about with a bird's beak and a tiger's teeth, and that she is skilled in playing the flute. Yet this is not her true figure, but that of a spirit who serves her and ruled over the western sky. The Queen Mother entertained King Mu in her castle by the springs of jade, and she gave him rock marrow to drink, fed him with the fruit of the jade trees. Then she sang him a song and taught him a magic formula by means of which could obtain long life. The Queen Mother of the Western gathers the Queen Mother of the West gathers the immortals around her and gives them to eat of the peach sheaves of long life. And then they came to her with wagons with purple canopies drawn by flying dragons. Ordinary mortals stink in the Weak River when they try to cross, but she was kindly disposed to King Mu. When he took leave of her, he also went on to the spot where the sun turns in after running 3,000 miles a day. Then he returned again to his kingdom. When King Mu was 100 years old, the mother of West drew near his palace and led him away with her into the clouds, and from that day he was seen no more.